My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska. My mission, as always, is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching in real estate. And today, we're going to be talking about the best options you have if you are looking at purchasing raw land in Alaska. This is something where I've kind of learned about this a little bit more myself personally recently, so we're going to be giving you some of the best tips and tricks that are available out there. Before we get started though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And without further ado, let's go and jump into it. First off, and I'm just going to say this once and then hopefully we'll move on and everybody gets it, there is no such thing as legally homesteading in Alaska. You know, everyone kind of throws out the term homesteading and just kind of assumes that it's there's no legal ramifications. What homesteading used to be was you could stake a claim to a piece of land, you could develop it, and then after a certain period of time, it's yours. And now when people use the term homesteading, usually it's more about just having a subsistence lifestyle where you're kind of living off the land, and those are two completely different things. So just know right off the bat, there's no such thing as legally homesteading in Alaska. You may buy a piece of land and then develop it and live off of it. You may not go stake a claim to it and then develop it and then it's yours. Okay, two completely different things. And yeah, it's just don't get those two mixed up. Okay, got that. Moving on. All right, the first resource that I'm going to show to you that could be a good option for you, maybe yes, maybe not, depending on what you're looking for. We'll get to that in a minute. But the first resource is going to be the Department of Natural Resources here in Alaska. Now, on this website, you'll have the ability to see some of the public land that is actually up for sale. Now, it can be over the counter, meaning that they are just giving you a price and saying, hey, purchase this piece of property and this is going to be the price, or it can go up for auction. Now when it goes up for auction, it's going to be a closed bid and you're just going to have to put whatever amount it is that you're willing to offer for it, and you mail off your bid, and then that's the end of it, and then you hopefully get the good news later on. Now when it's over the counter, the big thing you have to keep in mind is there is no negotiation. If they say it's $22,000, it is $22,000. Okay, don't think because you're coming in with cash that you're going to get them to suddenly come down on their price. That's asinine. That's not how this works. This is the state, and when the heck have they ever done anything that financially makes sense? Okay, they're flush with cash through other resources. They don't need your a couple $1,000s one way or the other. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. Tough love hurts, but it's going to save you a lot of time. Well, price is the price, and if you don't offer exactly what they're offering, they're probably going to just tell you to go kick sand. All right, got that out of the way. Now let's talk about some of the specifics here that I really do like about this option. Number one, these are going to be parcels that are already surveyed by the state, and you're going to know exactly where it's at. Now, one thing to keep in mind, these lots are usually not going to be very accessible. When I say not very accessible, I'm meaning you better have some kind of an ATV, a plane, or a snow machine or something like that to access the property, because usually they are pretty dadgum remote. But you can get some pretty nice pieces of land out there if you're looking for something that's kind of remote. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that the auction option, if you're looking at actually purchasing something at auction in Alaska, as far as the raw land goes, you have to be a resident of Alaska if you're going to do that. Now, the over-the-counter option, in other words, them just posting on their website, hey, we've got 10 acres of land here on this lake and it's $22,000. Like, that's over the counter. That is available to you whether you are a resident of Alaska or not. But yeah, keep in mind, no negotiation on that. Just it's $22,000. That's the end of it. Anyway, moving on. One thing that is really cool about this website as well is, from what I can see, it actually looks like they do offer about a 25% discount, a veteran discount, if you are a veteran. Now that's really great, and if you've somebody who've served the country in that capacity, this could be a great option for you if you're looking at picking up some land that's definitely more on the affordable side. Now, one more final point that I'm going to mention here, and then we're going to move on, and that is you cannot buy these pieces of land individually. Now, what I mean by that is you can't just go on like some website somewhere, see where all the public land is and go, oh, there's 40 acres over here near the Chugach State Park. Okay, I really want that. I'm going to approach the state directly with an offer and they're just going to sell it to me. Not so fast, not so fast. That's not how this works. They are going to go through one of those two official options that we mentioned. Realistically, it's probably going to go to auction first, and then if it doesn't, then nobody picks it up, nobody purchases it, then they put it on the market as an over-the-counter option, and then at that point, somebody can just purchase it with cash or can sit on the market forever because, it really doesn't matter to them really one way or the other. So I say that all to really just mean that there is no identifying a piece of land and then you just go and purchase it just individually without going through this process. You're going to go through this process one way or the other. Really the thing is whether or not you're going to learn the process well enough in order to use it to your advantage, or if you're just going to get stuck on a bunch of bureaucratic points and just completely miss the point altogether. So if you're going this route, best thing I can say, become a really good friend of the bureaucracy and learn how to work the systems here and really learn it inside and out, the deadlines, the fees, the this, the that, the that, the that, the that, the that. If this happens and that happens, like learn all that stuff. Otherwise, someone else is going to learn it and they're going to get the piece of land that you wanted. All right, we're going to take a break real quick here. If buying raw land in Alaska is something that really does sound appealing to you and you're considering moving up here to Alaska to kind of start your next phase of life up here, then you might want to check out my podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I interview people who have recently moved to Alaska and we can talk about the pros, the cons, what they liked, what they don't like, what it was like moving up here. Was the Alcan really as difficult as it sounds? All that good stuff we discuss at length in my podcast, so make sure you go give that a listen. The link for that is going to be in the description section down below. And without further ado, let's talk about some more options for purchasing land in Alaska. Now, this next option is going to be a little boring for some of you, but it's going to be a real solid option, and that is just buying property that is listed on the multiple listing service. So when we say listed on the multiple listing service, what I mean by that is just anything that is listed with a real estate agent. Now, a lot of people, they kind of roll their eyes and they're like, why would I do that? Like, it's going to be so much more expensive and so on and so forth. But the reality is, if it's on the multiple listing service, there are a lot more things about it that's going to be a lot more verifiable because it's actually had an owner, as compared to just the state trying to off-sell some land, which they'll have some information. They're not going to have as much, though, and there's really not going to be that much of a history. Additionally, stuff that's on the MLS, there's a good chance that it actually has been developed, or at least it's somewhat accessible as compared to the properties that are on the public land options that the Alaska Department of Resources is trying to offload. Additionally, if you purchase something from the Alaska Multiple Listing Service, you're also not going to have to deal with the bureaucracy of dealing with the state, because you're dealing with the seller. Usually the listing agent and seller, you're going to be dealing with them, as opposed to just dealing directly with the state that has like a bunch of deadlines and this form, that form, this, that. It just gets really complicated. And for that reason, just working directly with the listing agent and seller does really streamline the entire process. You can buy it in a much shorter period of time. All right, this next option, I don't necessarily recommend it. Once we start to get to these options here, I may or may not recommend these, but we're going to do it anyway. Craigslist could be an option, and I give this a big caveat because there's recent years Craigslist has kind of just become a landscape for a lot of scams, so be very careful when you're on Craigslist. Sometimes you can find some great deals on there, sometimes you can find some great scams, so just be very careful. Sometimes you'll find that 1 in a million person that's just a really eccentric person that has an incredible piece of land that's willing to part for it, and they only put it on Craigslist. More often than not, it's going to be a scam, though. And the next option for looking for land is going to be pretty similar to that, and that is looking on Facebook Marketplace. Now, you're going to find a lot of people that might be for sale by owner on Facebook Marketplace when it comes to raw land. You know, that's your prerogative if you want to pursue that route, if the property is just that good. Do keep in mind, though, vast majority of lawsuits involve a for sale by owner, so I for one, usually just take a big step backwards whenever it's a for sale by owner, just because I know my odds of ending up in a courtroom somewhere are probably better than if I just found something on the multiple listing service, because at least in the multiple listing service, if the seller and listing agent are not giving me a fair shake, they're doing a bunch of illegal stuff, I have recourse. When it's a first sale by owner, it's just going to be a lawsuit, and that's pretty much your only recourse. So that's the only thing I would mention there. That and your chances of running into scams probably also going to be pretty high, maybe not as high as Craigslist, but it's up there. All right, last but not least, and this one might actually be the best option you can find, and it's going to be incredibly difficult for some of you, and for some others of you, it's going to be an absolute dream come true, and that is network like crazy. Okay, in Alaska, it's a really small community, and there's a chance that you're going to know someone who knows someone who knows someone who owns a piece of land or owns a property that you would really like to acquire. This is really something, market that you're wanting to jump into, and if that's you, then it really is to your benefit to really get good at networking and see if maybe you can parse out some information, get a lead. Maybe someone's looking at retiring. They wanted to develop this piece of land 20 years ago. They never got around to it. Doesn't look like they're going to. Hey, maybe they'd like to make a deal right now and just be done with it so they can run off to Arizona and live their best life there. These are the kind of things that you should be thinking of. So if you are considering purchasing a raw piece of land, definitely networking is something that you should definitely consider, because it's going to give you, it's going to be coming from people you were able to vet a whole lot better than you would with for sale by owner or some of these other options. And yeah, you're just going to have a lot more peace of mind, and you're not going to have to probably compete with the rest of the market as well if they put it on there. So these are all options if you're looking at purchasing a property that's just a raw piece of land. If you'd like any assistance with trying to acquire one from the MLS, feel free to reach out to me. Be more happy to help with that as best I can. Please don't ask me a bunch of questions about the acquiring land at auction and all that good stuff. I know everything that I know at this point. I've never actually gone down that route myself, so if that's something you're interested in, I'd have to refer you to other YouTube channels. But if you have any questions about acquiring the properties anywhere else, feel free to give me a call and be happy to help.